Now to this week's special report on the future of coal-fired power. While Conservatives here are pushing to preserve Australia's reliance on coal, their British counterparts are leading the charge to switch to renewable energy. The UK is making ambitious plans to cut its use of the fossil fuel to zero, despite the country's long history of coal mining and power generation. Britain is among 20 countries who've joined an international alliance to phase out coal before 2030. The aim is to increase that to 50 countries before the end of this year. Importantly, big emitters like the US, China and India aren't among them, nor is Australia. But that hasn't stopped the UK powering ahead and dramatically cutting its use of coal for electricity. Our Europe correspondent Steve Kinane travelled to what used to be the UK's coal heartland, Yorkshire, to see the change that's underway.
Britain's biggest power station is undergoing a revolution. Built in the 1970s to burn coal from local pits, these generators are now producing renewable energy.
So where we're standing now, about 6 years ago, this would have been a huge pile of coal. And what you see before you now are the storage domes which hold our wood pellets.
Andy Koss wants this power station off coal within 5 years. 3 of his 6 generators have already been converted to biomass, burning pellets made from the offcuts of harvested timber.
The key thing about biomass is we're taking this from working sustainable forests that are actually growing and absorbing carbon more so than is being harvested from those forests. Our carbon footprint is reduced by over 80% compared to the coal that we were using here.
What's happening in Yorkshire is happening across Britain. In 2012, 40% of electricity was generated by coal-fired power stations. Last year, it plummeted to 7%, and the government wants that figure to drop to zero within 7 years. It's a long way from the current debate in Australia.
As a country, we have to make the most of everything we have, and we've got all these coal resources. Why should we export coal so that other countries can make the best use of it and not make the best use of it here as well?
I've always been absolutely forthright about making sure we believe in coal-fired power. And I want to continue that fight.
The big difference in the debate here is that a Conservative government wants to end the use of coal. 30 years ago, Margaret Thatcher was one of the first leaders to speak out about the dangers of climate change. And Conservative ministers here consider that part of their political legacy.
Conservatism, to me, is about protecting what you inherit and improving it. So whether it's making sure the economy is robust for the next generation, whether it's about stewarding this beautiful environment that we live in, that for me is the essence of my conservatism.
The British government has reduced coal use through introducing a carbon price and subsidising renewables. Claire Perry says it's been good for the environment and the economy.
The investment is going into low carbon technologies. So in the UK, the low carbon economy is growing at about 11% a year, employs over 400,000 people now. It's bigger than the aerospace manufacturing economy. It's a real growth powerhouse for the UK.
But not everyone's happy.
Yeah, I mean, coal is what put the great into Great Britain.
Chris Kitchen is the head of the miners' union. He says there's still a role for coal.
When the cold weather comes, the wind stops blowing, the sun stops shining, and they turn the coal stations on. Luckily this year we've had the coal stations there to be turned on.
But Chris is fighting a losing battle. Britain is taking its anti-coal message to the world.
So it feels like a very important tipping point to be bold and ambitious.
Signing up over 50 countries, states and businesses to its Powering Past Coal alliance.
We very much see coal as a fuel of the past. I think we need to move away from emitting carbon as a society as a whole, and we're playing our part in that.
And the man who runs Britain's largest power station is very much on board. Steve Kinane, ABC News, Selby.